Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining, and welcome to this Cloud Academy webinar. I'm Alex, Cloud Evangelist at Cloud Academy, and today I'm here with two special guests from France, and we are going to talk about predictive analytics and data discovery in the cloud. So my two friends are Hervé and Sylvain, and they're from a company called PredicSis.ai. Hello, guys, and welcome.
Hi, Alex.
Are you here with me? Hi.
Yes.
Welcome. It's great to have you. Hi.
Thanks for having us.
It's great to have you, really. So I'm Alex, and I often talk about machine learning and predictive analytics, and I'm really happy to have Sylvain, Chief Data Scientist at PredicSis today. And so before we get started with our kind of hands-on webinar, I wanted to give our students some kind of context about what we are going to talk about. So we are not going to talk about too much about theory today, because I wanted to showcase a real concrete solution. So I think PredicSis is a concrete solution because they allow you to simplify data exploration, which is a tough problem. We'll see what it means. And it also allows you to embed intelligence and kind of machine learning services into your own product to make your product smarter. So let me recap what we are actually talking about. So the first problem is data discovery, which is a process by which users interact with data and search for patterns or look for insights, usually with a business goal, trying to take decisions. So the real problem is not data discovery. Data discovery is actually fun. The problem is that you always have multiple sources of information, and you always want to build interactive reports. You have to prioritize data, and it would be great to have real-time reports so that you can be accurate and not be looking at all data. And it gets harder and harder the more data you have. So let's say if you don't have this kind of problem, you're probably not collecting enough data from your system. So this is a very tough problem to solve. And then the second topic of our webinar is predictive analytics. So let's say that some of the patterns or insights that you can find in your data can actually be learned by a machine or by an algorithm. So the typical use case is that you use data from the past to make sort of smart guesses about the future. So in a way, this intelligence, these smart guesses can become an actual service that could make your product smarter. So this is about predictive analytics. And the interesting fact is that most of you guys are probably interested in cloud technologies and AWS, and I'll be happy to discuss with the other guys that PredicSis is already available on the AWS Marketplace. So I don't want to spoil it, just a little spoiler, like in a very quick way with a one-click launch, you can deploy infrastructure and software and choose your configuration and manage everything and start loading data and getting insights in just a few seconds or minutes. So I think this is a very interesting use case if you are already on AWS. Okay, so I just collected a few links and useful resources. You will have this video shared on YouTube later on, guys. So just if you want to take note of the links, but don't worry, you will have everything later on to explore. And that's it. I am happy to hand over to Hervé and Sylvain.
Perfect. So we're going to have a few words by myself, and then Sylvain will get into the demonstration. And I'm going to sort of present three main things. Sort of what does PredicSis do? The second thing is who uses PredicSis and what do our users do? Is it business analysts? Are these data scientists? Is it on-premise? Is it on the AWS? And what for? What are sort of the main case study? And then Sylvain will get into the specifics of a use case using the example of selling insurance policies. So first question is effectively what does PredicSis do? So it's a effectively it's a the risk of reading what is just on the on the slide here, a self-serve advanced analytics solution. And what is important is introducing the notion of agile data science. The second thing which PredicSis does is putting data in a day-to-day decision-making process. From all the way from the people who are working on sales and marketing, from sales and marketing all the way to HR, and thirdly, it's sort of integrating the non-parametric ML algorithm. But Sylvain will bid on that. But let me define a few things about what I mentioned just before. What do we mean by self-serve advanced analytic? First, on demand essentially means you have a question, you have some data, and whether or not you are an expert, you can fairly rapidly, without any specific hurdle, surface insights in a few minutes, and you'll see that in a few minutes. The element of actionable insight is the fact that PredicSis is actually what is known as a white box. So if I take an example of a propensity to buy, there is either the option of having a raw score for the propensity to buy, and that is just a sort of the black box approach. But that is useful in one hand, but it doesn't give the variable that drive that score. And these are the insights effectively that PredicSis flushes out, both at the population and at the individual level, and PredicSis users do use that because it helps them adapt their internal processes. Okay, what does it mean to sort of simplify things as well? First and foremost, as Alex mentioned, it's the need to get very quick first answers in a few minutes rather than a few weeks or longer, and you'll see that in a few seconds. But it's also, and that's a smart data discovery element. It also means it's possible to explore sort of a very vast range of amount of data sources. Essentially, if you have a little bit of a doubt on which data source to use, traditionally one would have to go incrementally or do some trade-off choices, and essentially our users are telling us that is now it's one of their major hurdles they remove. They can very quickly test a whole range of multiple sources of data, and the simplification element, which is interesting from a DevOps point of view, is it is also possible to shorten the amount of time between theory and the reality, i.e. inject the model in production, to sort of start to do A/B testing rather than staying at the theoretical level or at the pure POC level. Okay, so that's these are the few points which are important in terms of what does PredicSis do and what some of the reason people use it. So if I move on to the next slide, the question is who is PredicSis.ai for? As I mentioned, there are two types of users. There are users who are just using PredicSis via the GUI or the graphical user interface, and there is the data scientists or the DevOps that use it, via a coding mechanism. So it's important to understand that we have some users who have zero knowledge of data science, and they need to test the data source, and they know their data, and they have but they don't have that the data science knowledge, so they need to surface the insights and quickly get a perspective. But we also have the other users who are the data scientists. We have organization like, we have, for example, organization of Amex. You have, I think it's 300, 400, 500 of data scientists using PredicSis and they need to do the things which I mentioned before. And then on the other side, at the other end of the scale, we also have very, very tiny startups with literally 5, 10 people who are using PredicSis. For example, we have marketplaces, and they need to sort of understand, how well is a web form performing. They have a whole range of questions which they can address with PredicSis. And who is PredicSis.ai for from an infrastructure point of view is we have organizations that are using PredicSis.ai on a on-prem model, but that's not the focus of today. We actually ported the application onto the AWS Marketplace, and these are the core focus of today. So, why did we move PredicSis.ai on the to be accessed on the marketplace? Well, we had a lot of organizations a lot of users who wanted to sort of do all this smart data to create predictive analytics, but they had all the usual hassle when it comes to provisioning. They had the security issues, all these sort of things, and they wanted to very quickly, in one click, as Alex mentioned, very quickly in one click, being able to sort of spin an instance and start to test some of their data. Okay, and the marketplace enables that. The second element, which is a little bit obvious when it comes to AWS, but it helps them address all privacy and scalability issues. The data stays within their environments, and it doesn't goes via our infrastructure. Okay, so that's really clearly leveraging the whole AWS aspect. Another thing which is important as well from an AWS marketplace is the ability to start small. Very often, all these sort of big data projects, there's that belief there's a need to have everything perfect, and there's a need to have all the data, and actually we advocate quite potentially the opposite. Start small with a few tables, get insights, understand what data set is relevant. Understand, test more data set, add more data set as they come along, and get some models, because one of the outputs of PredicSis is a model, and start optimizing it. And it's really that agility which is quite important, and which PredicSis does enable. And the last reason why we move AWS to the marketplace is in a way, the important aspect of money. Right? There is that belief that doing predictive analytics or these sort of activities tend to be very expensive, and actually we're lining up the model of PredicSis to the AWS model. So people who are starting to use PredicSis because it's a little bit of an innovation onto the marketplace, literally they have 2 weeks where it's a free trial, and we interact with them, and we have a whole support team helping addressing the sort of the initial question. But 2 weeks free, and afterwards, importantly, some people just want to use it, do sort of a data discovery, and turn it off. And that's going to cost them $3 per hour. Okay, so we've lined up the model of PredicSis on an on-demand model, which helps some of our users to literally drive the business through data without the hassle of provisioning, privacy, scalability, and all these sort of niggling issue when it comes to software. So that's me done. These are the main reasons why people why people use PredicSis and why we moved it onto the marketplace. I'm going to hand over to you, Sylvain. Can you pick up on that?
Yeah, sure. So thank you, Hervé, for the introduction, and Alex. So let's just complete what was said by Hervé with some case studies, because as we are talking about predictive analytics in general, it can be applied to any problem where you have data regarding a specific outcome that you can define on. It can be your own. So we have users who are focusing on lead conversion, and who have improved their outbound sell channel efficiency by detecting in real time the leads that are persuadable, the ones that will convert because they are acted upon. So we have other users that improve their fraud detection process by detecting in advance transactions who are likely to be fraudulent and who are able to stop those transactions before they occur, meaning they are able to save some money. So that's what's important there, is that we are talking about generic predictive analytics, and it's up to the user to define the outcome he wants to fight against, or he wants to improve, or he wants to anticipate. And then he gathers data. Around the behavior of the users before they bought something, or before they trigger a fraudulent transaction. And then they are up to speed, and they can use PredicSis.ai to make the relationship between the data before the outcome occurs and the fact that the outcome occurs. So now it's time for having a little demo or hands-on session, I would say, regarding the way one can use PredicSis.ai, starting from the AWS Marketplace. So it's as easy as any other software solution that is made available via AWS Marketplace. It's just as easy as that. So let me share the right screen. So I think it's good. And any user can go to the AWS Marketplace and try to find PredicSis. Then select, for example, PredicSis.ai. Just select the right region. There we are in Ireland. So just continue, and in a one-click launch, you can select the instance on which you want to install PredicSis.ai. Just add some security, just to be sure that not anybody can use your instance, and then you're done. You can launch your own EC2 instance on AWS. So, and if we go on your console, on your Amazon console, well, you can see that the instance is starting. Is starting running. So one important thing, we won't wait for the instance to be up. So I have this one already fired up, and now we can see that PredicSis.ai is accessible via your web browser, via my web browser. So, but before going on, let's see what we will see, because as we are talking about hands-on demo on data, let's talk about data just a few seconds. So what you will see when I will use PredicSis.ai is a case of cross-selling life insurance policy to customers of an insurance company. So we have people who have already insured their car via the company, and the company wants to improve the selling of the life insurance package. So what is interesting there, the outcome is, okay, for a customer, will he or not buy the life insurance package? And as we are talking about predictive analytics, it means that to start doing something, the user has to gather some data regarding past purchases of the life insurance package. So the user is able, like Hervé said, like it can be a data analyst, is able to access and and extract those data. And what is important to start with PredicSis.ai and what is mandatory is to have so positive and negative cases of customers who bought or who didn't buy the life insurance package, meaning that we have a file, we have a table with one row per customer, and every customer is identified by a key, so an identifier that is unique for him. And for every row, for every user, there is the answer to the question, well, did the outcome occur or not? This time we are talking about buying or not the life insurance package. So what we will see is that, okay, thanks to those data, once they are put into PredicSis.ai, PredicSis.ai will allow the user with a few clicks to gain some insights regarding the signals, the variables driving the buying behavior. So we can see there we have, for example, as we are talking about people who insured their car, we have the car type of the car that is insured. You have the miles per day, the number of miles on average that a user drives, and some other, like it's a typical, I would say, typical CRM data gathered by the insurance company, and that the data analyst can output. So we'll see that in a few seconds. And what is interesting then is, as we see quite often when we are talking with our users and for a real life problem, I would say, we have other data. We have data about those users, other data. So this time we'll see on this example that the insurance company has data about the customers who had some chat session via the website of the company with the customer care team. So meaning that the insurance company is able to collect some data about, for example, the keywords that a customer used during the chat session. So what is important there regarding the structure of the data is that for PredicSis.ai to run, it is mandatory for the data to have this key column once again. This way, PredicSis.ai will be able to do the job and join the different data sources. So that is important because it alleviates the need for the user to do that beforehand, meaning joining data and building new features regarding the words and the data source that is used. So PredicSis.ai will do the job, driven by the data user. So here are the main things that are needed to start using PredicSis.ai when talking about data. So let's see how we can gain some insights quite quickly. So let's go back to PredicSis.ai. So from there, as a user, the first time I use PredicSis.ai, I will be using the project page from which I can create a project. So let's name it cross-sell insurance. And once this is done, well, the project is available via a card there, and I can open it to upload the data. So I will click on Add Dataset, and I will go and get some data. So the CRM data we saw in the slides. To help advanced user, we allow them to upload dataset for PredicSis.ai to be able to assess the performance of the models that are automatically built. So I can do that. I can do that from the start, and I will add those peripheral datasets, the ones regarding the chat session. So we have the keywords for every users and every chat session they had. and we have another source that is about some info regarding the chat session. So number of interactions, mainly during the chat session, during every chat session of every users.
Sylvain, sorry if I interrupt. Just to add some more insights for our students, we are uploading files because that's the easiest way to do this, right? But you can actually use data from S3 or Redshift or other data sources, right? Can you confirm that?
Yeah, not totally currently,
Okay.
but we are working on some features.
Okay, so that would be, if I already have my data warehouse or, my S3 data lake whatsoever. So
Yeah.
that would be a great alternative.
Yeah, the next step will be connecting to allow PredicSis.ai to connect to
Awesome.
Redshift.
Great, thank you so much.
Yeah. So from there, as we are talking about data, PredicSis.ai ingesting data, PredicSis.ai does the first time an analysis of the data to be sure that everything is okay, meaning okay, we are talking about CSV files, so PredicSis.ai checks that the format are good, and is checking that there is a header line giving the name of every columns, and it is inferring the type of every columns. Then it is checking that there is a column name key so that it will then be able to join things together. It is checking that the outcome is there, the column with the outcome is there and is in good shape, I would say. And then it is sorting the different data sources in order to be able to go quite faster afterwards. So this is done once at the beginning of the project, and when this is done, PredicSis.ai will start analyzing the central data set, the one with the CRM data regarding every customer, so that with an upload of files and a simple click on Get Insights, on the Get Insights button, the user will start analyzing some insights regarding the problem at hand. So the main page for the project will be this model page, where the user will see the models piling up once he will build new models and improve the new one. But what's interesting is that, okay, with a few clicks currently, the user has access to three possible actions regarding this first analysis. So it is about viewing the insights that PredicSis.ai found. It is about improving things, and for example, asking PredicSis.ai to have a look into the other data sources, for example, in this case, the ones regarding the chat session the customers had. And finally, when the user is fine with, well, is happy with the model he has, he thinks that it's good regarding the business constraint and objectives, then you can apply the model to actual data and to get predictive scoring. So just to have a quick look at that, let's start by this capability. So let's say this first model is the right one, and let's say it meets all the objectives that the business wanted to achieve. So from there, I can simply add data regarding my actual customers and what they are doing currently. So as PredicSis.ai knows the structure of the data, it simply asks the user to fill CRM data, to fill in CRM data, keywords, and information regarding what the users are doing currently. And from there, PredicSis.ai will check that everything is okay regarding the structure, that it is compliant with the one used during the learning phase. And once this is done, I can, for example, I can output a file with the identifier meaning that I will have the key identifying every customer, and I will have a probability, what we call a predictive score, evaluating the propensity, the probability that a user will buy the life insurance package. So from there, maybe I want to add the email of the user to this file because I need it if I want to put this file, the file that will obtain into my campaign management software, for example. So from there, this way, I can get predictive score that I can output and give to the next step. So our users, they usually trigger some campaigns. For example, on this example, I want to have some campaigns running on the customers who are more likely to buy and not the other one. So I can select the file, the data source, and ask for PredicSis.ai to apply the model to those actual customers and to compute, to build a file with the answer and the propensities. And from there, I can download this file, and you can see that the user will have another CSV file with the email of the customers, of my actual customers, their identifiers, so that I can put that into my data warehouse, for example, plus the probability for each and every user to buy the life insurance package. Meaning, for example, I have a budget for having an action towards 1,000 customers, then I can select the top 1,000 customers, the ones with the highest probability to buy the package. So this way I can increase the performance of my campaign. So meeting the business objective. So that's the predictive scoring part. And as a user, without any machine learning knowledge, I can go straight to this part in a few clicks. But what was interesting and what was mentioned by Hervé and Alex is that, okay, this is the predictive scoring output one need to perform some actions, some targeted actions. But in the meantime, well, or in the second step, maybe, I want to improve things. I want to understand what is interesting, what explains this buying behavior. So I will have a look, for example, at this first model and have a view. Via the view action, I will have two things. I will see the performance of the model, and more importantly, when we are talking about smart data discovery or data discovery, we will see what PredicSis.ai found in the data. And PredicSis.ai displays, well, do mainly three things. The first one is to filter out the features, the variables that are not informative regarding the outcome, the ones that have no relationship with the outcome, the fact that the customer will buy. So this way, PredicSis.ai allow the user to focus on what is important and not what is totally uninteresting. Second thing, for the features that are considered interesting regarding the data, those features, they are sorted by decreasing contribution. So from the most interesting one to the least interesting one, meaning that the user can focus on what's important as well, because in a case where one has a lot of features, the user cannot analyze 1,000 or tens of thousands features. He cannot do that. He can just focus on what is important. And PredicSis.ai displays the features from the most to the least important ones. In this case, we have only 8, so it's easy to have a look at every one of them. But and third thing, PredicSis.ai provide the user with an explanation why a specific feature is important. So quickly, let's have a look at the car type, which is there the most important one regarding the buying behavior. So why is it important? It is important because the PredicSis.ai via an histogram gives some additional information. We can see that PredicSis.ai found in the data four groups regarding the car type of the car that are insured. And for example, there is one group that is the one of customers who insured a full-size luxury car. It is only 2.5% of the whole population, but they are different from the others. Why? Because on average, we see there the green line, which is the average buying probability, meaning only 1.9% of the overall population buys the life insurance package. Well, this is the average. For customers who have insured a full-size luxury car, they are different from the other because they are more likely to buy the life insurance package. This is where we compare the blue line with the green line, and we see that more than 16% of those customers are buying the life insurance package. This is what PredicSis.ai does behind the scene. It is capturing in the data the different behaviors regarding the outcome, regarding the target behavior that the data analyst wants to understand. And PredicSis.ai displays the result in a way that the data analyst can understand what's going on. So the data analyst can simply add a comment like, this one is interesting. Maybe I didn't know that. And save it and say, okay, that's interesting. And I want to share that with my business stakeholder, for example. So I click there. So I check the feature and I ask PredicSis.ai to give me a PDF that I can quickly share. And this PDF comes with all the information we saw on the page, plus the histogram I selected with the comment. So this way I can quickly interact or collaborate with my business stakeholders regarding some insights I have gained quite quickly. I didn't do anything more than clicking on the Get Insight button at the beginning. So that's the first part, the parts where the user can gain some insights quite quickly. So the third thing I can do is, okay, I can do predictive scoring to get information regarding my actual customers. I can get insights from the signals driving the behavior, and I can improve things. And essentially, regarding the data we have, by asking PredicSis.ai to inspect those additional data sources regarding the chat sessions. And on this screen, I will simply ask PredicSis.ai to surface 10 features from the other data sources and ask PredicSis.ai to do the computation, the whole computation for me. The only thing PredicSis.ai needs is the key that I mentioned at the beginning. This way, PredicSis.ai will be able to build, evaluate, and assess the performance or the interestingness of new features built from the other data sources. And this is where the data analysts doesn't need any machine learning skills and so on. It's up to the machine to do the job. So we see that we have some more features there because we have 17 instead of 8, and we'll quickly have a look at them. What I need to do when facing such data, I need to aggregate them. So PredicSis.ai will apply some aggregation operators like the mode in this case, meaning PredicSis.ai will compute the most frequent modality, the most frequent word for every user. And then it's a feature that is at the level of the customer. and then it can be evaluated and combined with others, like the car type or the income, the ones we had in the native, in the central table. And again, once we have this feature, which gives the most frequent word used by a customer via the chat session, PredicSis.ai analyzes it and says and displays a histogram telling that he found 2 different groups of customers regarding this most frequent word. There are the users who have used a word like charge or broker or certificate as a most frequent one. And there is another group of customers who used frequently or a word like cancel, claim, risk, termination, and so on. And those 2 groups are different because they are, for the second group, the one who is using the word cancel, claim, they are less likely to buy the life insurance package because we see that the blue point is below the green curve. And on the other side, we have the other group who is talking about charge, broker, and certification. They are more likely to buy. So that's quite makes sense because we feel that customers who are more likely to talk about canceling their subscription and so on, they are less likely to buy something, an additional package. So this way, we see that PredicSis.ai computed features, surfaced features from the peripheral data sources, and then dealt with them or displayed results the same way it did with native features, so like car type and income, allowing the user to focus on what's important again, and simply asking PredicSis.ai to drill down the various data sources, meaning that he can go on and maybe improve a bit more and ask, for example, 100 variables, and do that till the moment the performance is enough for the business to say, okay, I can run a campaign against this information, against these predictive scores you are using. So allowing the data analyst, the user, to focus on the data, the business knowledge, and the performance of the model regarding the business situation, and not at all focusing on machine learning things, allowing him to quickly have a first good solution and maybe iterate later, starting first engaging quickly with the business stakeholder to get their feedback and their approval for going further. So that's pretty it for the demo, for the hands-on session. So that's what we saw, and I think now it's good to have some question and answers.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Sylvain. That was a nice demo with a real use case and real data. That's not very common. Thank you. So we have some questions. So I just wanted to personally ask you, like, for example, just how big was the data set we were using in this demo, just to have a taste of what the performance and accuracy would be with a smaller or a bigger data set. So like we were using, I don't know, 1 million records or 1,000 records. Can you share a bit on that so we can understand better?
Yeah, sure. So first thing first, PredicSis.ai is available on AWS. So the user can set up the right EC2 instance to deal with its own load of data, I would say. So that's the first point. The second point is there is no limit regarding the algorithms we developed because it is able to take care of a high number of rows or columns, meaning that algorithms are able to work with chunk of data in order, well, the classical case when we often face when we are using open source solutions is, okay, I have data, they are bigger than the memory I have on my machine, and often we face a problem with that. With PredicSis.ai, the algorithms we develop, they are able to, when the memory is not big enough, is able to work with chunk of data, meaning that it will not overload the memory, and so it will not crash. So that's another point. And a third point is when we are talking about some metrics, I would say on a standard EC2 machine like an MCAT M4 X large machine, we can see that PredicSis.ai is able to deal with 1 gig of data in 20 minutes. So giving first results, giving the first insights in about 20 minutes regarding 1 gigabytes of data. And then it's pretty linear. So if you have 2, 3, 4 gigs, then it will be about 40 minutes, 1 hour, and 1 hour and 20 minutes, and so on.
Okay, cool. That's pretty quick. So what about updating the data used by the model? So I have to create a new one, or can I just add new records from new files? Like, you know, when I export data, then I can provide the ground truth, and then I reuse. You know, I just update the model with new data. Is that possible? How do you do that?
Yeah, it is possible. Not with the version you see there. It will be possible with the next version that will be made available on AWS Marketplace by the end of May. But indeed, we are working on allowing the user to start with, let's say, 1 or 2 or 3 tables, and then adding some other peripheral sources along the way.
Okay, cool. So we have another question. So one of our students asked, I don't know if you can disclose that. Maybe it's a magic script under the hood. But he asked, what are you guys using to score these predictions, like random forests or some kind of, you know, what kind of models you are working with? Maybe, you know, don't go too much into the details if you can't. But can you share anything about this?
Yeah, sure. So we are working. You mentioned the random forest algorithm. So you probably know, if you know about random forest, you probably know about XGBoost algorithm, which is an ensembling method using simple classifiers which are decision trees. We have the same kind of algorithms, but the same kind when talking about with respect to XGBoost, but we are using learners that are weak learners that are naive based on the independence assumption of the features. So we have the same kind of strategy, I would say, starting with simple but very efficient learners, and then then using an ensembling method to combine all those simple, I would say, classifiers to improve dramatically the statistical performance of the model.
Okay, great. That's very interesting. So another question was, so what happens when you guys publish a new version of the machine learning software? Like, can I just use the same data and get a new version, or I have to redeploy everything and upload my data? How does it work?
Yeah, so as PredicSis.ai is available on AWS again, so the data of your project and so on, they are on ESB. So once you shut down your machine or you turn on another one, and this is the case when you upgrade the version. Well, the data, they are not destroyed, they are there, so they are still there. So you can upgrade easily, and everything would be fine. You will find your existing projects, and your data won't be lost because they are not on the EC2 machine. They are on a separate storage infrastructure. So
awesome, great. That was actually the next question. So you are using EC2 and Elastic Block Store. So when I click, the one-click launch button, basically you just deploy a machine and attach some EBS volumes to it, and then okay, great. So the data will be there. I can update a version of the software and keep the same data, and then it will get better and new features will be added. And okay, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let me check if we have more questions. If you guys have any question, ask now. I'll give you maybe another minute. Let's see. Okay, no question is coming. I guess we were very clear. Okay, so thank you very much, Sylvain and Hervé, for the presentation. I think we gave some, solid, practical, hands-on experience to our students. I'm really happy. If anybody else has any question, feel free to, get in touch, comment on YouTube or comment on our forum, and I'll be happy to answer and eventually reach you guys if I have any doubt. Thank you very much again.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
All. Bye.
Bye-bye.